Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. What album are we doing today? What are we doing today?
We're doing Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
Paranoid! Originally titled War Pigs. Otherwise the cover doesn't make any sense because that's a war pig.
It's a terrible cover.
It is a terrible cover. Even if it's called War Pigs, that's still a terrible cover. Obviously they'd already paid for it so they couldn't change it. But apparently they were actually uncomfortable about writing an anti-Vietnam War song. Which is...
strange.
There must have been loads of them. I mean, I don't quite get that, but maybe just the title War Pigs is so in your face, you know. People generally regard this is the point where they became metal. They found their metal. Before it was just blues, but now it's metal. Actually, they'd written most of this stuff at the same time they'd written Black Sabbath, but didn't have time to record it. War Pigs they were playing when they were in the Caravan Club in Germany. Apparently it was like 40 minutes. We know what that means really, don't we? It means it was just they played War Pigs for a bit, and then Tony Iommi would noodle for a bit and then have a rest. And then they would play War Pigs again. I'm sure that's what it was. But yeah, obviously definitive and important and massively influential. It's so easy to be blasé about the riffs on this album, obviously. You know, as I said last week, I think Tony Iommi is highly underrated as a player. I've even read Sabbath biographies where they've said, well, he's not really the lead player like Jimmy Page or Ritchie Blackmore. Yes, he is. He's a better lead player than Jimmy Page. Have you heard Jimmy Page in the 80s? Have you heard Tony Iommi in the 80s?
I think what they mean there is sort of Jimmy Page and Ritchie Blackmore dominate the sound so much for Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple, whereas you wouldn't listen to Black Sabbath, although it doesn't particularly sound like it's a guitar dominated band.
It's interesting. I don't know whether I agree with it. I mean, Led Zeppelin, the drumming dominates. Whether that's the production or whether it's Bonham style. And in Deep Purple, you've got the swing drumming and the organ and the guitar doing a thing. I think with Sabbath, it's the guitar and bass and the drums responding to the guitar and bass, but especially the sound of the guitar and bass, the bent notes and all that stuff.
Yes, I think maybe what I'm referring to is personality as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas,
he doesn't actually...
you look on stage, Jimmy Page is the main guy in Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, Tony Iommi's...
Yeah. Ritchie Blackmore is sort of...
doing his weird stuff.
Yeah, thinks he's God's gift and all that.
Yeah.
Tony
has a moustache.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And plays awesome music, but...
Yeah, and stands pretty still. Yeah, so what do you think of Paranoid?
It's a really, really, really good album.
Yes, it is.
It's got as many high points on it as the original, and probably more, and it's more consistent from beginning to end. I think practically every track on there gets on the, would get on the best tracks of Black Sabbath.
Yeah, I think there's two on there that wouldn't, but I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. In terms of changing sound, I don't think there is that much of a change in sound.
There isn't anything like as much. If you read about it, you read all the rhetoric,
yeah.
It sounds like they became... And of course, they're actually the songs from the same era.
Yeah.
They aren't on drugs yet, not really. They're having a bit of weed, but they still can't afford any. You know.
I mean, what's this, about 6 months later?
Yeah.
How much can have happened in 6 months?
Yeah, so other than that, when they recorded that, they had no concept of ever being successful at all. They thought they could just about survive touring for a bit and then have to go back to working in Tut Mill. Here, they're now a band and they're in the charts and all that stuff, but they'd already written all the songs and they certainly played them live a lot.
Yeah. There's a surprising track on there, which is nice.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
How does it compare to Led Zeppelin 2? I mean, I would compare it to Led Zeppelin 2 in that there's something very definitive about it and so influential that it's almost derivative.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose this is the go-to Black Sabbath album for most people.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be a metal band in the world that would not cite it as an influence. So you're probably right. It probably does compare to Led Zeppelin 2 in the sense that, although saying that, Led Zeppelin 2 is actually quite boring to listen to now because you've listened to it so many times.
Yeah.
I don't get the same feeling with this.
No, you're right. I think it has it a bit, but it does stand up to ludicrous number of plays better than Led Zeppelin 2.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Therefore, it's better.
Track 1.
So yeah, as I said, War Pigs, originally 40 minutes, well a jam really. originally called Walpurgis, but apparently they wanted to get away from writing about the occult and all that stuff. And that was a very clever move by Geezer of keeping some of those lyrics about black masses, applying them to Vietnam. And it is about Vietnam, I think. They played the Star Club, not the Caravan Club. The Caravan Club's in Liverpool. The Star Club in Germany, where they went to learn to play in, etc., etc. There was a lot of Vietnam veterans who they came to Germany halfway home to sort of recover. So they would meet these people and they're telling all these horrible stories about how horrific it was in Vietnam, and that's what inspired it. In terms of the structured Sabbath piece, it's definitive in so many ways. The lyrics are not exactly highbrow, and rhyming masses with masses. First time you hear it, you think Brummies, what they're doing, but actually that's the point. That is the point, right? Rhyming masses with masses. Brilliant. All that stuff. Brilliant.
Yeah, great song. I don't agree with that. I think I remember the first time I heard War Pigs, I thought I want to commit that to memory. Those opening lines. So they weren't that bad. Yes, there is a slight anomaly.
But it isn't that at all, is it? Yeah. It is absolutely intentional. It does make sense that you say, look, masses, same thing.
Yeah, underlining the point. It's a brilliant, it's an all-time classic. War Pigs, you can't sort of. And funnily enough, I don't think this is the song. Let's say you got a best of rock compilation. This is probably the song I'd put on there. No, I think maybe the next track gets on quite a few.
Yeah, great, fantastic track.
Yeah.
Next song,
Paranoid.
Obviously, it's the one everyone knows. It is so un-Sabbath. It's really not very Sabbath at all. Obviously, it was written at the end of the album. They said you need another couple of minutes to record. I'm sure what the record company guys were really thinking was we need a single. They didn't tell them that. They said, well, there's a few more minutes on the album. You need to do something else. So we ran off that riff very quickly. Geezer was against it because it sounds like communication breakdown. And that's not the part of Led Zeppelin they want to be doing. They want to be doing the authentic heaviness stuff, not the singly stuff. But Geezer really came out with some brilliant lyrics. And the thing goes that nobody knew what paranoid meant. They didn't know what the word meant. And Geezer, who, according to Ozzy, has a good brain, did know what it meant, we think. Geezer says, yeah, I was lucky there because I didn't know what it meant, but he does know what it meant. I think that's what it is. But they thought there was like a word that had become, I'm paranoid. They didn't know what it meant. Great solo as well. I love the guitar solo.
Yeah.
That's why it's a perfect single, actually.
Yeah. I have grown to detest this song simply because it isn't really reflective of Black Sabbath.
Not at all.
Yeah. That is the song that people associate with Black Sabbath most.
Yeah, that's the one they played at Buckingham Palace.
And it's a shame that I don't like it because it is quite clever. It's a good short song, isn't it?
Yeah, and even the vocal melody is very un-Ozzy. It starts on a minor third, I think. So the way he's playing to the riff is very different to what he normally does.
Yeah.
Interesting, though.
Track 3?
Planet Caravan. This is a fantastic song. This is the soft track. They always say, well, we had to show that sometimes we can play other styles of music. Apparently, the band were a bit dubious about doing something like that, and it was Tony Iommi was saying, look, we need juxtaposition, and it is major juxtaposition. It is a wonderful song.
Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
I think one of Tony Iommi's best guitar solos as well.
Yeah, it's strange because I was talking about Black Sabbath the other weekend to someone, and I mentioned I played them Planet Caravan because they said, Black Sabbath, they're really heavy, aren't they? Right, and I played Planet Caravan, and she said, it's Ozzy.
Yeah, it is Ozzy. Some people think it's Bill Ward because it sounds something like Ozzy, but yeah, it is Ozzy. Yeah,
it's got that sort of similar tone to the start of Sleeping Village.
Yeah, and it actually the same notes.
Yeah. Which is good because I wanted that bit to go on with Sleeping Village. Mm-hmm. Planet Caravan,
And you've got some, I think, congas. Is it congas?
Yeah.
Which work really well.
Yeah.
It's only 2 chords.
Yeah. Not something you typically associate with them, but
yeah,
they do so well.
Yeah.
You covered it in
Pantera.
Yeah, that was it. Pantera.
Yeah, and it's on Far Beyond Driven. Well, again, it worked brilliant on Far Beyond Driven as juxtaposition. Saw that live. It was the highlight of the show. That was brilliant. They had obviously they got a brilliant light show, 1995. So and they had some weed symbols all going around like this. So it was really psychedelic.
Good stuff. Right, track 4, Iron Man.
Iron Man. Now, this is the 4th song in E. They're all in E, but it's so clever, right? Because it starts off in E. And he's bending the past the neck there, going, which doesn't work on a acoustic guitar, but obviously it's going F, E. You think, right, it's in E. And then, of course, it's not. It's in B. And also, I mean, it's one of the most profoundly heavy riffs of all time. You know, I mean, you can down tune and you can go as much as you like, but there's something so profound about that brutal riff. And I think, I mean, it starts on B, so it should end on B, shouldn't it? But it doesn't. It goes back up to E again. So it's like, yes, actually E, and that's what it is, and that's so profound. And Ozzy just follows the riff, and obviously great lyrics.
Yeah.
Iron Giant stuff.
What can you say?
Yeah.
It's like a moment's silence for Iron Man.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Next song,
Electric Funeral.
Electric Funeral. I think this is not top tier. This song. It's stylistically very, very similar to Iron Man. It's like Iron Man 2. Now, obviously, you turn the record over, which is important. But I've never found this song to be as good as the rest of the album. It's still brilliant, obviously, and a great riff. And I love all the business and all that. Something slightly psychedelic about it. Something slightly going into the 60s, maybe. I don't know. I like the title. I think it's quite funny.
Yeah, I think there is a psychedelic side to this, and I think that was probably their confusion over the word paranoid. I think they're sort of conflating paranoia with psychedelic acid.
Yeah,
you know.
I think apparently Geezer was doing acid, although they couldn't really afford drugs. Geezer, the period before Sabbath, Geezer was just off his head on acid all the time.
Even at this. I mean, we're quite a few tracks in. This is obviously stuff that they've written pre-Fame or developed pre-Fame, and it is amazing how much of the music is actually memorable.
Yeah, so much of it.
Yeah,
that's Tony Iommi. That is. That's the riffs. He was so coming out with all this stuff easily. At this point, it got harder later on. It's probably the drugs, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you. It's not as good as the rest, but it's still memorable. It still sits in the brain. If you hear it, it stays there. Track 6,
Hand of Doom. Now, conversely, I think this is underrated. I think at this moment, this is Geezer's finest moment of lyrics. It's fantastic lyrics, and obviously, ironically, it's about hard drugs being bad. And they actually got, Mary Whitehouse type characters complaining that they're encouraging people to do drugs. You listen to the lyrics, your skin starts turning green, and it's too late. You've taken drugs now. You're dead. And it is a wonderful piece of music. You've got the D minor. And I tell you what, as well, it's around this time you start to realise how good Bill Ward is. I think Bill Ward, it's not so much that he's underrated, I don't think he was ever recorded sober enough to hear how good he was. And he's kind of a jazz drummer in the sense that he doesn't play the beat. He's the opposite of John Bonham in that sense. He's very jazzy and he follows what the band are doing. And he has sort of these symphonies in his head, and he plays like he's got 8 arms, just trying to play, and there's some wonderful playing on it. And Ozzy as well. I think it was dropped quickly from the set because he struggled with it live, because it's really got Ozzy's pained voice in there,
good track.
Mm-hmm.
Track 7,
Rat Salad, rip-off of Moby Dick. I think it's better than Moby Dick, actually. I like the riff. It doesn't, obviously the actual drum solo bit is incredibly short. I imagine live, obviously, they gave him a drum solo.
Yeah, I kind of skipped past this one. On to Faeries Wear Boots.
Faeries Wear Boots. This is my favourite song on Paranoid. It swings. It's got key changes. It's not just in E. It's in G, it's in C. Brilliant. Love the lyrics about having a fight with some skinheads and basically getting the crap kicked out of them. because they were on drugs at the time, I think.
I think the lyrics are absolutely bonkers. I don't really... They're funny. Is it the end of an album track, though?
That's the thing. I mean, well, the very end of the song, a bit, and it fades. But it's almost like that's put there to make it an end.
Yeah.
Whereas the song itself, it could be at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I you know, for me, Faeries Wear Boots, I'd take over War Pigs. I like all that swingy stuff and the time changes and everything.
That's quite a big comment. I wouldn't, but I do like it.
Right, it's got to be 5 eggs, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a 5 egg
easily.
album. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Paranoid, as Ozzy would say. Yeah, Sabbath seem to... They don't chant... In the early days, they didn't chant Sabbath. They go, more. And Ozzy would go, what do you want to hear? And the audience is shouting Paranoid. Okay, we'll see what we can do. Paranoid. You know, Ozzy stood at the side of the stage. And I think, you know, the revisionist thing was like, well, Tony Iommi put himself in the middle and pushed Ozzy aside because he's a bastard, which isn't true. It's just the way because obviously they started off on very small stages, so Ozzy would just set up his mic there and Tony Iommi would be there, and that's all, you know. And then the stage got bigger and bigger, and Ozzy happened to be over there. This is Sabbath we're talking about, you know. They don't stop and think, should Ozzy be in the middle? So it wasn't until the reunion that Ozzy stood in the middle in '97. So yeah, that's Paranoid. Special album.
Another special album.
Very special.
Tune in next time, same place.
See you next time.